Good afternoon. I'm Jacqueline, Coley Awards editor at Rotten Tomatoes, and it's my honor to moderate a conversation with the cast and filmmakers of MGM's Billy the Kid. So please allow me to welcome Donald DeLine, executive producer, and star Tom Blyth, Billy from Billy the Kid. Alrighty then. We were watching the end backstage, and I was kind of thinking of all of the incredible tasks that Donald and the folks that created the show had you do, Tom, between like horse riding and guns and romance and speaking Spanish, and oh, he's English, so it's an American accent, and it's kind of crazy to think about everything that went into this role. But I'd love for you to talk about specifically what we kind of see in this one, which is where we find Billy after the break, which we didn't know we were going to have, but it's turned into be like a happy accident. So where are we finding this Billy that these folks just got to watch?
Yeah, we had a break, which was actually turned out to be a blessing because as you see, we get to now shoot in the snow, which is really intense. But I think it adds a layer of drama to it that we didn't even know we needed, but it was a blessing. But Billy, I think, is, when we left him, he was still kind of hankering for like a normal life. He was trying to be a farmer. He was trying to work for Tunstall, who's like a father figure to him. And then, at the end of part one, he loses Tunstall and basically vows to avenge him no matter what the cost, which costs him his relationship with Dulcinea. It costs him kind of his morality, because now he's kind of focused on revenge. But we now get to see in episode 1 of part 2, he kind of, Dulcinea learns that it's not so easy to be on the straight and narrow in this world that they live in. And so he kind of wins her back. And now he's got something to live for again, is like, his love and these friends that he's now got, and Charlie and George and all the guys. So he's still got some morality left, but he's kind of like, he's now like a general. Like he's like a general of the army of the regulators.
Yeah. And Donald, I have to talk to you a little bit about it, because with the break, as the person sort of like running the show and being there day to day, this was an entirely new task for you, changing the filming schedule. And that to me requires a bit of a magician behind the scenes, so that where it can be a still seamless story, even though when you actually filmed the end of episode 4, you had no idea this is where you're going. So talk about how you approached that sort of Herculean task.
Yeah, it was interesting. Basically, we were told that you just don't shoot in Calgary during the winter. And then we were told, well, we need the rest of our episodes as soon as we can get them. So we said, well, I guess we're just biting the bullet and doing it. So we went straight headlong into it. I have never experienced cold like that in my life. I was like, when people are wearing battery-operated jackets and vests, you know that something's not right. And then it was 49 below zero, and we were shut down from shooting for 4 days because it was life-threatening cold. It was a big challenge, but I will say that our actors were incredibly game and brave, and they were out there in no clothing, essentially. We had layers of stuff on, and they were shooting in their wardrobe, and it was not warm. It was intense, and you guys never flagged. I mean, it was amazing. So I have to say that, and I have to say our crew up there in Calgary, they are the real deal. They grew up in that country. Our wranglers, our cowboys, they know how to deal with it, and nothing stood in their way. It was really extraordinary.
There is kind of like a running theme in this show of resilience. It's in the show, but it's also in the making of it as well. Because I mean, when we started, we were like one of the first shows back to start filming when the pandemic rules kind of lifted a little bit. Yeah. We were like full-blown pandemic mode, masks, testing all the time, all that sort of stuff, distancing. So we managed to do season 1 under those circumstances. And then season 2, we got 4 episodes in, and then there was a writer's strike and an actor's strike, which shut us down. And then we managed to come back 6 months later, and then we're fighting through minus 50-degree cold. So I'm intrigued to see what season 3 might bring.
Yeah.
I'm like, we've had the elements. It's like there's going to be something like act of God that like wipes us out or something. I don't know.
Well, if we know the history of Billy the Kid, we kind of can guess. So there might, there's a lot that's going to happen. Wow, this is insane. I'm so glad y'all made it. I'm so glad you're here because I can only imagine what it was like being on set. But one of the things I think is interesting too is when we come back with you in second part of season 2, it's really like season 3 because I feel like Billy has leveled up a lot since we last even saw him at the end of the first part. What would you say was it like for you, Tom, coming back to the role? And what would you say those first 2 parts really had you so dialed in by the time that you came back for this third one or this third section? Because I do feel like he's really in his bag in this second half. He knows who he is. He knows what he's doing. And so how did you approach that?
Yeah, I think it was something we were always kind of aiming to get to was like Billy in his bag, because season 1, he's very much like, he's a kid and he's trying to work out how to survive and he's like learning to be a cowboy in real time. And I was learning to be a cowboy in real time because I didn't ride horses. I didn't know how to handle weaponry. Like all that stuff was new to me as well. So season 1, I was like growing with him. And then the beginning of season 2 was kind of like him finding his footing as like the general of this war, the regulators. And then this kind of third installment, I really felt like he'd kind of found his confidence. And part of it was probably me finding my confidence as well. And kind of feeling like I felt confident to walk in his shoes a little more. I don't know. I guess when you've done something a few times, you kind of feel like you've earned the right to relax into it a bit,
I mean, I'm mostly talking about, did y'all see some of that gunplay in that episode? Like, I see you flipping them guns different this time around. I just want you to talk a little bit about how you went from like John Wick level 1 to John Wick level 4, Billy the Kid style, because I felt it. Like there was the elevation of the stunt work with the guns and maybe the horses too.
Yeah, there is. I feel like, to be fair, it's just a lot of it is in the writing. Like the stunts are getting better and better. The cinematography around the stunts is getting better and better as we learn the show, and the show becomes like, we just know it. It just feels like part of us now. And with that comes like confidence and just like really committing to it. And we have a really like collaborative team. Like Michael Hurst, the creator, is really game for suggestions when it comes to these things. And I get excited and I start pitching him ideas and he's game to play with it and write it. And Donald's really game to kind of massage like the best version of things. And when it comes to the stunts, like the guys out there, they just know that like I want to do it all myself. I love the stunt men and women that we have on our team. They're all amazing. But I'm like, I didn't come all the way to Calgary not to do the horse riding and the shooting and the stuff. So I'm just like, put me in, coach, at all times. And the more we do it, the more like, comfortable it becomes. But the gun spinning it's fun. It's a good party trick.
Y'all are gonna see it. I wanna remind everyone too, it's not just my questions. In a few moments, if you have a question, just line up here at the microphones. There'll be some MGM folks that'll talk to you first. But before that, we're not ready yet. We're not quite there yet. I said it was coming. Easy. Yeah, thank you. I have power. I'm just kidding. This is awful. Donald, I wanted to bring it to you, sir. The fact that you also leveled up the cinematography and the production design, and with the added element of snow to still make this feel. I mean, we saw that final shot of them pulling back. I'm guessing that's a crane or, Talk about that aspect and how you got the commitment to really make this feel like an epic Western tale.
Yeah. I think we always hoped to accomplish that out of the gate. Otto Bathurst, who directed our first 2 hours of the show, really set out to give it that kind of mythic quality and that giant, vast landscape, which is really a character for us. It brings forth a lot of emotion. And when we went into the winter season, it kind of became this whole other new character. Just this harsh, foreboding world became even harsher and more foreboding. And something about that snow and the white landscape really gave us a new feeling we didn't even know we were going to discover. And we had wonderful directors that really cared about giving it that scope and that look. And where we shoot, we shoot everything practically on this show. We don't have one sound stage. We don't have a set. It's all practical locations. But it happens to be some of the most beautiful country you've ever seen. John Scott, who's the guy who's the head wrangler there, who's this legendary cowboy that has this giant ranch up there. The last shot you're talking about of this episode was on his ranch. So you just stand up there and you look, and it's awe-inspiring. So we had the good raw materials of Mother Nature to work with.
I wanted to really quickly follow up with you because there's a character that's central to really this second sort of season a lot, and that is the character of Garrett, who shows up at the end of part 1, and we really follow him heavily in the second half. Talk about how adding that dynamic into it really sort of changed things, because up until this point, Jesse was so the main antagonist, and so having an almost seemingly moral antagonist on the other side, how that really sort of changed what you guys were doing in season 2. Donald, if you don't mind, yeah.
Yeah, we were all kind of waiting for Garrett to come back, because obviously we know Garrett comes back. Anyone who knows the Billy the Kid story. But I love his character because you really don't know which way he's gonna lean. He's been a bad guy, quote unquote. He rode with Billy and the gang. He came from that side of the tracks. He went to jail, and they said, let's transform you and see if you can become a lawman. Now, of course, they had their own intentions, because he was going to be a bit of a puppet for them. But now he's standing up and kind of saying, I'm a lawman. I don't take sides. And we're all wondering, which way is Pat Garrett going to go? Is he going to have loyalties to his old pals, Billy and the gang, or is he going to be neutral, or is he in fact going to be in control of the corrupt forces that are in Lincoln County? So it's a great part of the second half of the season is you get to watch how he kind of goes back and forth and how Billy deals with that.
Tom, before we sort of maybe take it out to the audience, I want to talk a little bit about your previous main antagonist, and that is Jesse, and how his perception of Billy has changed over these, again, season 1 is one chapter, part 2 is another, and now this second half. When he talks about Billy towards the end of that first half of the season, he really talks about like a friend he knows that he's in some ways is equally committed to saving as much as he is to destroying. And how does that dynamic, if you want to preview a little bit, going to play out in the second half? Because they're in a very different place.
Yeah, they're enemies who love each other, essentially. Excuse me. Yeah.
Thank you for saying that much quicker and better.
No, that's we're bouncing off each other.
No, I love it.
It's a collaboration. Yeah, they're like enemies who love each other because they've got they're full of respect for each other. They've loved the same woman at one point, but even then they kind of loved each other more. There's a brotherly aspect, but there's also at one point we were like, is there a romantic aspect there? And then we figured,
Thank you.
Yeah. We learned that it probably isn't actually in the end, but also who's to say?
You'll never know.
Read between the lines if you want. But yeah, they just they have so much respect for each other, and they are they're each other's kind of yin and yang. They're each other's kryptonite kind of thing, and they're both at times, and in this season and the second half of the season, they have each other at the end of a barrel of a gun and can't pull the trigger. And it's such an exciting thing to see, because you're seeing two people who are literally tasked with killing each other and can't do it because they don't want to lose that person who's the only person that matches them. They don't want to lose that obstacle because it's the only person that can really test them as well.
I was just going to say, also in a world of fleeting friendships, relationships, life is cheap and during those times, and it comes and goes quickly. They're also probably their oldest attachments to each other. They go back to childhood, really. I mean, to adolescence, and so it's a very strong bond.
Yeah, I think also Billy's lost everyone that he knows. He lost his family in season 1. He just lost John Tunstall. He constantly loses people, and I think he's on that note. He's reluctant to be the one to take out Jesse because he doesn't want to lose another person that means something to him, that makes him who he is. Yeah.
All right, we're going to toss it to the audience now. If anybody wants to come up for a question, I can keep going. Trust me, I have plenty. I'm not going to rush anybody to it. In the interim, I will say this. We can do a real quick one, quick answers, so we don't take too much of these folks' time because they are lining up. Actually, we're going to get to it. There's too many people here. I'm going to go right here because she's got a phone out. I know she knows exactly what she's going to say.
I've been trying to not mess this up for quite a bit. So how did you prepare or approach Billy's character differently in this part, essentially, since it's kind of like the heat of the conflict, and especially knowing that the end is approaching? Did you have that in your mind, in the back of your head while you're going with your performance?
Yeah, I kind of touched on it earlier, but I think in season 1, he's a young kid. He's still learning. He's kind of wide-eyed, bushy-tailed. In season 2, at the beginning, he's kind of finding his footing, and then this part 2 of season 2, he's really kind of the leader, and he has to step up. So it's something that I was always looking forward to getting to with Billy, because I wanted to let him be a bit more confident, let him be a bit more in control, but also I want to see him kind of lose his temper a little more. When you read the history books about him, he was famous for being super serious and concentrated, and everyone followed him because they trusted him, because he was focused and a natural leader and really smart. But also he could lose his temper at the drop of a hat, and then do it with a smile. And you start to see that a little bit more in this part, where he loses his temper. Even when he kills Buckshot at the beginning of this episode, there's a sense that he kind of enjoys it a little bit, enjoys getting revenge. And that's kind of exciting to get to see him as not just pure, not just a young kid,
Thank you.
Yeah.
Great answer. We're going to go over here, so we're fair. Okay.
Hi. How do you approach embodying characters from different historical periods? And what specific techniques do you use to ensure your portrayal remains authentic to the era while still resonating with modern audiences?
Yeah, you've done a few period pieces.
Yeah, I have actually. Yeah, that's a good question. Oh, man. With Billy, there's always a sense with any character that you're like, okay, I have to try and honor this person who was a real person, and there's history books about them, and you can read about them, and you can ask people who knew them, maybe if it was recent history. But at the same time, if you try and do it to the letter, then you might as well be making a documentary. And it's not a documentary, it's a piece of fiction. So you kind of have to give yourself the license and the freedom to go, okay, this is going to be my take on a real person. It's always going to be that. And in that sense, it kind of gives you freedom to play a little more. So to answer your question, I'm not even answering your question, but to prepare, I read all the history books, or not all of them, there's a lot, but I read a few history books until I can't read anymore, and then I'm like, okay, cool, done. And then I go back to the script, and I just trust Michael Hurst's writing, because ultimately that's our kind of character Bible. But then whenever I'm like, something's missing from the script that I feel I'm missing a piece of Billy, then I go back to the research I did, and it kind of fills in the gaps. And then a lot of it for Billy is physical preparation. So I just practice walking a little differently, a little heavier on my feet, and hello. And yeah, and horse riding, I'm riding horses every day. It changes how you walk, because your back hurts and your bum hurts, and your feet hurt from walking in the snow all day. And all of that changes the character. Yeah, I hope that answers your question.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Lovely. Where did that noise come from? Okay, right over here.
Hi, so I know you said that this character doesn't really apply to your real life, so I'm curious about what aspects from your real life you do use for this character, and also if there's any other characters or performances that you draw inspiration from.
Yeah. Billy is a bit of an adrenaline junkie, and I am too. So I think his love of riding horses as fast as he can, I can relate to. So there's lots about him that I can relate to, and I think what I often do is and this answers your question as well, a little bit, but I try and look for the things that I can relate to and can familiarize myself with, because no matter who you're playing, there's always something you can empathize with, some more than others. So a big part of it is just identifying what you can empathize with, I think. Yeah.
Thank you.
All right, we're gonna go this way, and then okay.
Hi, I'm Ramsey Michelle. Nice to meet you, Tom. Nice to meet you, Donald.
Hi.
What's your name again? Moderator?
Jacqueline.
Jacqueline. Yes, sorry. Thank you. Sorry. I was using this time to do something
Oh, no,
else. Sorry.
sorry.
I was talking to her about
Just
time.
doing some admin.
I know. I was apologizing.
Do your thing.
Go
My bad.
right ahead.
That one's on me. Okay, so I was just wondering. So my own interpretation of Billy is that he, and listen, this could be wrong. I could be wrong, but my what I see from him is that he's kind of more of like an artist, like that how was forced into where he is. Because he loved his family. He's a romantic. I think that he's kind of a rebel, and so that I think in today's day and age is more of a, well, I guess then too, but is more of just an artist. So with that being said, do you think, this is a little out there, if Billy was in 2024, what music or type of art would he be into?
All right.
Wow.
So every character I play, I make a playlist for. I think a lot of actors do this. I do think he'd probably be a musician.
Yeah, me
And I
too.
think he'd be a punk rock musician.
Yeah. I thought the same thing.
Yeah, or like, I feel like nowadays there's like a crossover between punk and rap a little bit as well. And I feel like that is something he could get into.
Right.
Yeah.
That was a good question. Thank
Excellent.
you.
Great. That was a fun one.
1 second too, because I want to make sure y'all know this, because I feel bad for y'all. We probably only have time for one and one more on each side. So I'm gonna go over here. You're next.
I was wondering what helps you get into character. Like, is there anything specific for you that really conjures the cowboy vibes?
Yeah, I mean, my punk rock playlist helps. I also, like, for every character, I usually find, it's kind of weird, I find a smell that, I use, like, what are they called? Essential oils or whatever.
Yeah.
Like, I try and find an essential oil smell, or just a smell.
Is that why your trailer always smells weird?
That's why I stink. That's why I stink, Donald. Yeah, that's why there's, like, fumes just coming out of my trailer. It's just my natural aroma. Jeez. Yeah, what were we saying?
Essential oil in your trailer.
My jet lag is coming out. I use a smell. So the first thing I do when I get in my trailer in the morning is genuinely I put on some music, and it may be like some Irish rock, it may be some folk music, it may be some country, like some Call to Wall or something. Something that I feel that day will help me get into the mood for that scene, whatever scenes we have coming up. When I do that, I try and like do a little physical workout to get in my body. And first thing in the morning at 5 a.m., you're not always your most physical self, and Billy's very physical. And I put whatever smell it is for the character on my body, and then put the hat on, and he starts coming out.
Beautiful. Thank you.
Yeah.
That is good. That is a good one.
Right.
All right, we're gonna go right over here.
Hi. Okay, this is a little long, but I promise there's a question here.
Okay.
And the context and background for it is that I'm a comedy development exec.
Sorry, say that again.
The context and background is that I'm a comedy development exec. Cool. There are very few people that I watch on screen and like identify as people that I have to work with and develop a character around, and you're on my list, so I just want you to know that.
Thank you.
And if you like the way my brain works with this question, we should find a way to brainstorm about it. So you play really dark, emotional characters, including this one, but what I find most compelling in your performances is the ability to find really great comedic timing in some of your line delivery. So I want to ask you as a performer and you as a producer, how are you thinking about those moments? Are you planning them, or do they kind of find you, or how does the audience find them? And how do you feel about that interpretation?
That's a very interesting question. We love it when Tom shows that lighter side, in fact, and it's something we were just talking about with Michael Hurst, our writer, and our other producers and the folks at MGM Plus, that going forward, we want to lean into some more of that, because early on we had more of it. We got away from a bit of it in season 2 because things are quite dark and intense with the Lincoln County War. But if you think back to earlier things, even from season 1, for instance, with Barbara and things like that, we want to try to modulate a little bit, and he's great at it. Yeah, you're right.
Well,
Yeah.
I will say I feel the same way, and it's not always easy because it's like if it's not there in the script, it's hard to like throw it up, you know, like if it's a dramatic moment and serious, it's hard to kind of make light of it if it's not there on the page. But I do think we've started finding a lot more of that, and it's what I was talking about earlier, which is I think getting to see Billy be a little bit more easy with it and a little bit more cool and light is just fun, and it's fun to play. And actually what it does is like it's fun to go high so then you can go low, you know, like if it's all dark and heavy, it gets kind of bogged down and like too earnest and self-serious. But like my favorite TV and film is always like it has highs and lows, comedy and drama and everything in between. So yeah, I think we're all keen to like keep going in that direction. And it's also like as Billy becomes more numb to all of this stuff, like it is easier for him. Like it's not all so dramatic all the time. He is finding it easier to be an outlaw. And with that, I think he also has a sense of humor with it as well. Yeah.
Awesome. Thank you.
That was a great question. All right, we have time for one more audience one, and then I have to wrap it up, and I apologize, but yes, let's go right.
Hi, Tom. So I was wondering, since you and Billy are so different and Billy is such a historical figure, are there times during your performance of him and you creating him as your own character that you felt especially connected or disconnected to him?
Like any particular times?
Any particular time.
Oh, man. I mean, in season 1, this is speaking of going dark with it, now I'm going to go heavy. Season 1, when he lost his mum and like sat by her deathbed, I found like particularly moving. I think anyone who's lost anyone in their life can relate to that. And that was a hard scene to do. And I love Eileen, who plays his mother in season 1. She's just great. We all love her so much. And we were all very sad to have to kill her off. But yeah, that was a moment where I could relate, and it was a hard day. Also, like Billy finding his like camaraderie in season 2. You know, like these new guys, George Coe and Charlie Bowdry, and all these guys who become the regulators. We're really tight on set. The cast and crew were like 2 seasons in, like 2.5 seasons in now. We are really tight and like spend all our spare time together. When we're not working, we're like finding other reasons to hang out all the time, going to karaoke.
Sometimes they're doing things they aren't supposed to be doing. I'm always like, are those guys in Banff skiing? Because that's not allowed.
I didn't know you knew about that.
You'd be surprised.
We do sign paperwork saying no extreme sports. But
I don't want to hear about it.
Yeah, meanwhile, we're on the back of a horse going full gallop. So, you know, it's like... But yeah, we're really tight. So it's like I can relate to his feeling of like the camaraderie that he has with these guys because I have it in real life with these guys. And yeah, we're all really close, and that's cool. Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
I am going to cut it off there with the audience questions, but lovely MGM people told me, ask your questions on social with the hashtags tag MGM or Billy the Kid, and they will maybe see if they can get you an answer because they're going to do some social stuff. So thank you guys very much. I have to talk about this because everyone that was here got to see the episode that folks will not get to see until later this weekend. Like, so y'all are ahead of the game. So you're kind of have a job now to go tell everyone to go watch it. And I'm gonna give you some ammunition. So Donald, I'd love for you to talk a little bit about, for folks that are gonna now go tell folks to catch up with the first, if they haven't whole first, season in the first half, what is going to be in store for this second half of the second season that they can look forward to, whether they're fans of Billy the Kid or whether they don't know him or not.
Oh, wow.
No pressure.
Yeah, no. I would just say the drama really ratchets up the Lincoln County War, the return of Sheriff Pat Garrett coming into the fold, and Billy's relationship with Dulcinea continuing in a very, very interesting way. I would say those are probably the main things.
As Billy, I'm going to give you kind of the last word on it a little bit, Tom, on this. If you could say something that you know, based on your extensive reading, happens with Billy the Kid that you haven't gotten to do yet, that we'll either see in the rest of this season or in season 3, MGM, you heard me. What is it that you're looking forward to take this character that you haven't gotten to do yet?
That's so good.
Sorry.
No, it's tricky. Because it's always, like, Michael Hurst has such a vivid imagination and is really good at kind of reading between the lines and writing the story that we don't know as well. So I'm always intrigued. Not this isn't a cop out, but like I'm always intrigued to see his version of events because it's always his own twist. But like specifically something from the history books, I would say there's a big shootout that I think historically actually happened in the snow, where Charlie Bowdry goes out in a hail of bullets. That is like a really dramatic moment in history. And I don't know how it's going to pan out in our show. You do?
Oh.
What? Okay. I'm going to get you on the margaritas after this, and we're going
Get him
to find
drunk,
out.
make him tell you everything.
Drunk and make him talk. But yeah, that would be a cool moment to see how it pans out, and it sounds like it's going to be good. So.
It's good.
Now I want to go where those margaritas are so I can find out. Thank you all. I want to remind everyone, you guys should have a free year of MGM in your bag. So make sure you watch Billy the Kid. And thank you all. Thank our lovely panel, folks at MGM and ATX Television Festival. Thank y'all.
Thank you
so much.